Chris Tierney gets his first goal as a Montreal Canadien as the Habs roll into Philadelphia, steamroll the Flyers, and make them look like an AHL team at times. I mean, John Tortorella's got to be angry, so I'll be breaking down everything that happened on this edition of Habs Digest. Hello, bonjour, ahoy, and welcome to today's game reaction edition of Habs Digest. I'm your host, Josh Gosse. Quick reminder before we get into the video, as always, guys, we're on the road to 5,000 subs. That's such a huge milestone, halfway to 10K. Help us out by hitting that button if you're a new viewer or a returning viewer who hasn't hit the button yet. It'd be really, really appreciated. So let's just get into this game, guys. I mean, Habs, Flyers, two teams, we weren't really expecting the biggest of matchups tonight. Montreal, they've been playing pretty well as of late, but the Flyers, not even just since Coach John Tortorella took over, the Flyers are a bit of a disappointing team. They get Rasmus Ristolainen in the offseason, everyone's kind of confused, Tony DeAngelo, and they're not really sure where the team's going, and like I said, they've been underperforming a bit. And, but a game against a team like Montreal, they're up a few games on Montreal. You got to win that game if you want to fight to maybe make a playoff spot, and the Flyers didn't do anything of the sort. The Habs and Flyers had one of the worst first periods I've ever seen. They were playing down to each other's level. The defense was just non-existent. The turnovers were bad. There were some moments here and there. For example, David Savard with a great pass out to Josh Anderson, or not Josh Anderson, sorry. We'll get into Anderson a bit later. Pass to Mike Hoffman, who misses the net on a breakaway. Not really sure. But after that, it kind of fell apart for a while. But once the dust sort of settled in the first, the teams got into a bit of a rhythm. It was clear that Montreal came to play tonight, and honestly, not even that Montreal came to play, that the Flyers just weren't ready. I don't know what was up with the Flyers tonight. Is John Tortorella, how is he not motivating you? Maybe you're sick and tired of hearing him, but the Flyers came out, and even the first two periods were some of the worst hockey I've seen this season by an NHL team. Just the sheer amount of turnovers from the Flyers, cross-ice passes getting intercepted. It felt like every 30 seconds, the Flyers could not get any time in the O-zone. Montreal consistently was spending what felt like 45 seconds to a minute in the offensive zone, trying to create chances for themselves. I think the Flyers had 0 high-danger scoring chances well into the second period, something like that. The Habs were keeping them to the outside. The Flyers had no fight in them. Montreal was fighting the whole way, and it paid off. The Habs were at one point in the O-zone for I don't even know how long, but it was an extended stretch. Finally, the Flyers clear the zone. But what happens? Someone at the point, I forget who it was, picks up the puck, and the Flyers go for a change. When a Montreal player gets it just behind the blue line off, the Flyers finally, they finally got it clear. And then they go right back in, and David Savard gets a breakaway. He gets a breakaway when the Flyers just cleared the puck past the blue line and went for a change. And he scores. David Savard, noted goal scorer, goes in and gets a goal for Montreal, and they're up 1-0 in the first period. And at this point, I'm just like, what are the Flyers doing? Legitimately felt like watching an AHL team. Just the no communication on defense. They were giving the Habs time and space so often when the Habs were in the offensive zone, and they couldn't create anything going the other way. A few shots here and there, yeah, some decent board battles. They're a kind of physical team, as you'd expect from Coach John Tortorella, but man, that was bad. And not only that, you thought that was going to be it, right? The first period is winding down. We got, 15 seconds left when Jordan Harris winds up at the back of Montreal's zone behind their net, and he kind of chips it out, and someone on the Habs dumps it into the offensive zone into the corner. Michael Pezzetta, as he always does, is right after the puck, but usually when he has to fight a player on the boards for that puck in the offensive zone, no, he wasn't touched. He went and got that puck right in the corner, unchallenged, then as he's falling, tripped up in the other player's stick, feeds it right out in front, when there's 3 Flyers in the defensive zone just watching. Chris Tierney, brand new Hab, now officially Habs legend, wearing number 67. He's wearing Max Pacioretty's old number, and what does he do but score? His very first goal-scoring chance for Montreal is a beauty. It goes in. Pezzetta, beautiful feed as he's falling right out in front. No one was checking Tierney. There were multiple Flyers there. Didn't challenge Pezzetta until after he was passing the puck and left Chris Tierney wide open in the slot for a goal with, 10 seconds left, if that, in the first period. The Flyers, you can tell, were demoralized going into that intermission. And they came out in the second period, and they played arguably worse. I don't know if that's possible, but the Flyers just looked sleepy. The Habs were getting all the chances early. The Flyers couldn't get a single high-danger scoring chance. And then eventually later in the period, we got something finally exciting. The Flyers were maybe trying to spark a fight. Alex Belzile with a hit from behind, a player into the boards. I don't think it was deserving of a boarding call, and it didn't get one, I don't believe. Hit a player from behind kind of hard, whatever. And I think Allison on the Flyers, Cates and then Allison both went after Belzile. And they just both, I think Allison ended up getting an instigator. I'm not sure, but the Flyers ended up coming out of that with an extra minor penalty because they dropped the gloves. I think Allison on the Flyers dropped first. Belzile, he's fought before in the AHL, but never in his life in the NHL. They dropped the mitts. Belzile landed one or two nice punches, but he was more so like in an awkward position, just trying to get his footing for this fight. He was up against the boards trying to grab. Wasn't the best fight I've ever seen. Belzile held his own, whatever, and the Habs got a power play out of it. And who else got a power play goal but the guy that we desperately need to get back in the scoring column every single night is Nick Suzuki. He's finding his offensive touch again, though. To be fair, this goal maybe should go to Ivan Provorov. Nick Suzuki sees Anderson sneak up from behind the net. It was a perfectly placed pass. The only problem is Provorov got his stick in the way and tipped it right into the top shelf past Carter Hart. So technically Suzuki gets a goal without a shot on net. Technically, I think they give him a shot on net for that, even though Provorov tips it in, but regardless, could have easily been Anderson's first goal of the night, but it ends up going to Suzuki's. Montreal scores on that power play after the Belzile fight. Good job, Belzile. And another thing of note on that goal is that was Matheson who got the primary assist on that play. Matheson now has 8 points in his last 8 games for Montreal, and he is someone that I wanted to get into. He had some insane skating in this game. I don't know if he was maybe still laboring a bit from injury earlier this year, but his skating this game was phenomenal. Purely phenomenal. Shortly after that goal where he assisted on Nick Suzuki, there was a play where Owen Tippett got the puck, maybe close, just on the Habs side of center ice, and Matheson was probably at the opposite blue line. He hustled back as hard as he could, and he caught up to Owen Tippett just as he got into the offensive zone. Like he was shot out of a cannon. Phenomenal defensive play. Not only did he get there, he ripped the puck from Tippett and just created another possession for Montreal. And in the third even, Matheson's skating was so fast. Like, a puck was loose near the blue line, and he shoots out of a cannon again, and he gets a break. He ended up just kind of shooting from the perimeter, and but it was a nice shot on net. Carter Hart had to make a decent save, and Matheson was right back ready to go play defense. So shout out to Mike Matheson, who every single game has improved for Montreal. His skating is finally what Habs fans have wanted. It's what we saw in Pittsburgh. It's what we saw in Florida. He's showing it for Montreal, so props to him. Montreal at the end of the second period got a little more sloppy. The shots actually, I think Montreal was up 20-12 or something in shots, something like that, and the Flyers started getting shot after shot after shot, and some bad turnovers from Montreal almost led to some chances for Philadelphia, but Allen was standing tall, and they go into the third period up 3-0. Unfortunately, Owen Tippett comes in and just rifles a snipe from like the top of the circle 9 seconds into the third. I mean, I think Jordan Harris kind of skated in front of Allen as it went towards him, but that shot was so perfectly placed. Very few goalies are probably making that save, so fine. 3-1 Montreal. But after that, you know, the Montreal Canadiens are coming right back. They were dominating the Flyers in every aspect of this game. The Flyers did have a few chances actually early in the third. For the first maybe 3-4 minutes, after that Tippett goal, they got a bit of energy. Like, we can do this. Montreal played good defense, didn't really allow high danger scoring chances. And then once things settled down again in the third, the Flyers apparently ran out of energy after 4 minutes. Habs chance after chance after chance. There was one play where Harvey Pinard, well, more than one, probably 2 or 3 times this game, where Harvey Pinard was behind the net, feeding it straight out front to Josh Anderson for a beautiful chance. Like, once or twice in the early third alone, once earlier in the game, and we'll get to another one later. Harvey Pinard and Anderson have this chemistry level that I can't even describe. You guys just need to watch them play. Their sense of where each other is on the ice. Nick Suzuki doesn't even need to be on that line. It could be a line of those two forwards, Harvey Pinard and Anderson, and they'd be good. But that was crazy. Matheson, great skating. Anderson, great chance. But who gets the first goal of the third for Montreal to make it 4-1? It's Jesse Ylönen on the fourth line playing with Chris Tierney. It was that fourth line had a lot of good effort tonight. Michael Pezzetta, Jesse Ylönen, and Chris Tierney were working really, really well. Justin Barron with the point shot. Ylönen, his first goal of the season. Beautiful tip. Stick just under the crossbar. Not a high stick. Gets past Carter Hart. Beautifully placed. Makes it 4-1 Montreal. And, man, the Flyers after that, if they weren't already looking like an AHL team, at this point they looked like an ECHL team. Just go. If you recorded the game, or if you watched it, let me know if you felt the same way. But every possession that the Flyers were trying to transition into the offensive zone, Montreal got a stick on it. Like, I don't know who it was. Was it Morgan Frost try to cross ice pass from his own bench to the penalty box side of the ice, and David Savard just walks up, takes the puck, and resets it for Montreal? Like, it was shocking. It's not even something that I've seen from Montreal this year, and Montreal has not had a very good year. it was pathetic, to be quite honest. Now, let me preface that, or let me at least, say this here now. I'm not a hockey player. Never have been. I've loved watching hockey. There was no chance I could ever do better than what any of these people do. Because I know people are like, oh, I want to see you try and do that at an NHL level. That's not the point here. I could never do it. None of you could do it. The problem is, at the NHL level, the mistakes the Flyers were making are not things that you commonly see. And at the NHL level, those plays, I'm sure, to coaches are deemed unacceptable. That is my point here. John Tortorella is so angry at the Flyers. The amount of times that they just couldn't get out of their zone. This video has turned into less of praising the Habs, more of crapping on the Flyers. So I'll tone it down, but it was ridiculous. So we'll get into the last part of the third period, where Raphael Harvey-Pinard continues to make his mark on the Habs. What is it, 11 points in 14 games now, his 4th assist of the season. He goes in behind the net. I think it was Tony DeAngelo had the puck there. Tony DeAngelo had a terrible game, which is awesome. I really don't like Tony DeAngelo. I think a lot of you guys don't like him either. But he gets the puck behind the net. Harvey-Pinard skates in full speed. Little stick check, steals the puck, blind feed right out to Josh Anderson, who puts it over the shoulder of Carter Hart to make it 5-1. Those two connect again. Late in the game, actually, there were some Olay chants that broke out in Philadelphia. You heard Olay, and then some boos from the Flyers fans, but the Habs fans were going loud. It was kind of fun to hear in the Flyers arena. The Flyers score again late. I think it was DeAngelo passing to Provorov, who scores a goal and quickly does this and then realizes, well, it's 5-2. We're not going to come back. So he takes his arms down. Cooled by Provorov. He's like, I'm not going to celebrate. Reasonable. Good for him. He scores to make it 5-2, but that was the final score. It was 5-2, and the 2 goals from the Flyers. One was 9 seconds into the third on a deep snipe, and one was with a couple minutes left in the game. Provorov tips it in. So the Habs just come in and show the Flyers who's boss, really. Montreal, a team that a lot of people are talking about, diving down the standings for Bedard. They're winning games now. Maybe not against, I was going to say against good teams. The Flyers don't really count, but they win some games. They come in and tonight, they made the Flyers look like how, for example, the Hurricanes made Montreal look last week. Arguably even worse. Montreal really didn't get that many shots in this game, and they still managed to score 5 good goals. It was a crazy game. Big win for Montreal. It was a fun win. Guys like Ullinen scores, RHP to Anderson. Suzuki gets a power play goal. Chris Tierney is first as a Hab. David Savard, another defender goal. It was a really cool game to watch. Really fun. Lots of cool plays. And I had a lot of fun, and I hope you guys did too. That'll do it for this game reaction edition of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Help us hit 5,000 subs. We're on the road to it. We know you can help us out. I'm Josh Gosse. We'll catch you in the next one.